Since I may not have time to cover it on the next live Sam Roberts Now, I thought I'd come to you today to talk about the movie Pearl. Pearl is the 2022 prequel to the 2022 film X. Pearl and X are two completely different movies, both directed by Ty West. Both star Mia Goth. They were filmed about 3 weeks apart. I liked X. I loved Pearl. Even though it takes place in 1918, Pearl has almost a 1930s vibe to it. The whole thing is shot in Technicolor. When the movie starts, we see the same farmhouse that we saw in X. In X, it was completely run down. It was dark. It was dank. In Pearl, the sun is shining. The sky is blue. The farm is bright and brand new. And we see young Pearl, played by Mia Goth, who also played MaxXine and Pearl, feeding the cows. The colors are so saturated throughout this movie that it almost gives you an animated feel to it. And when the movie starts, you feel like it's almost a parody. Like they're trying to almost poke fun at the carnage that they're about to show you. But the amazing thing to me about this movie is that as it goes on, you realize it's not a parody. That the Technicolor and the old style of shooting and the over-the-top theatrical opening titles, they're not done as kitsch. They're done to put you in the mind of the dreams of Pearl. Halfway into the movie, I realized that I wasn't looking at this cinematic style as a joke. I wasn't looking at it like it was a parody. I had been sucked into the world of Pearl and the way that she kind of saw things through her own little cinematic eyes. One of the great things about Pearl is that it's not a traditional horror film in the sense that we don't follow the victims. X, for example, is really told from the perspective of the victims as they're chased by these maniacal old people running this farm. But in Pearl, we really don't get to know the victims at all. The victims barely matter because the story that we're following is Pearl's. Pearl lives on the farm with her overly strict German mother, a woman whose only emotion appears to be anger, and her wicker wheelchair-bound invalid father, who has apparently become an invalid due to the Spanish flu. It's one of the other interesting things about this movie is that there's all these references to pandemics and mask wearing and what it all means as it takes place during the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Pearl has to care for the animals on the farm. She has to help her mother with the chores. She has to take care of her father, washing him, bathing him, talking to him, grooming him. But all she really wants to do is dance. Pearl wants to be a star. And this is where the connection to the movie X comes in. See, one of the things that made X so much fun is that you realize, for some people as the movie was going on, and for some people not until the end of the movie, that Mia Goth was playing both the young porn actress MaxXine and the old, crazy, murderous Pearl. And to me, when I watched it, the reason that the same actress was playing both characters is because the filmmaker was trying to tell us it's the same person. Not that it's literally the same person, but it's that same person. They're both small-town girls who had this dream of just being famous. Somehow, this sweet, naive, fairy tale-like dream, where all you want to do is be a star, ends in murder in both movies. And I kind of love that it does, because for a long time, this dream of just being a star, of just being famous, of just being loved for any reason whatsoever has been attached as this thing that little boys and little girls aspire to be. But it's really kind of sick when you think about it. The idea of just wanting to be famous, no matter what the reason, the idea of not wanting to develop a skill, not wanting to get really good at something, but just wanting to be applauded, that's a terrible quality in a human being. That's a quality that Pearl has in this movie. That's a quality that MaxXine had in X. We know Pearl is a murderer. We've seen X. But what we see in Pearl are, apparently, to our knowledge, the first murders that Pearl ever commits. And Mia Goth does this amazing monologue towards the end of the third act. I mean, it's 6 or 7 minutes, steady shot on her face as she explains what she did and why she does it. I thought it was great. I thought it was the type of stuff that they should be giving actors awards for. But I also think it's the type of stuff that maybe the one criticism that people could have about this movie is that it's not the fastest moving movie in the world. The violence doesn't kick in until way deep into this film. It's not a slasher. It's a story. It's a story that involves singing and dancing. It's a story that involves simulated sex with a scarecrow. Turn of the century porn. Not this century, last century. It's a story that involves intrigue and murder, war, violence, and a dinner scene with corpses that are rotting, flesh that's burned, and a roast that's being feasted upon by maggots in front of our face. But a dinner nonetheless. Everything we get in this movie, for the most part, is earned. You earn everything. You follow along so that there is, you're waiting. You know the other shoe is going to drop. You know something bad is going to happen. And eventually, boy oh boy, does it. But you have to wait for it. We are with Pearl on her downward spiral. We watch as she goes from weird and quirky to murderous. That doesn't happen overnight, nor should it in the cinema. Seduction, sex, envy, and a dream for something bigger cause Pearl to kill in 1918. These same things caused Pearl to kill in 1978. And we're getting another one, because at the end of the credits of Pearl, we see a teaser for a movie called MaxXine, now with 3 X's, that takes place in Los Angeles, California in 1985. Obviously, this is going to follow the story of the MaxXine that we met in X that was able to make it off the farm alive and her journey to Hollywood. Porn is a big part of what will be this trilogy. In Pearl, we're watching porn as it was in 1918. In X, we're watching porn being filmed in 1978. And in 1985 Los Angeles, we are ripe to see the porn transfer onto VHS and the cheapening of what was once an artistic industry. I think ultimately both Pearl and X are about the desperation that comes with wanting more. Not wanting anything specific, just generally wanting more. Wanting to be famous, wanting adulation, wanting the acceptance of the entire world around you, and the true lengths of depravity that it will drag some people to. MaxXine and Pearl had the same dream. For Pearl, it didn't come true, and it led her to an insane life of murdering on a farm. For MaxXine, it appears that it is going to come true. But what happens when the dream comes true? That, to me, is the end of this trilogy. What's scarier, having a dream that never comes true, or having your dream come true and watching it crumble around you? I think that's the question that's going to get answered in MaxXine with 3 X's. If you like burned flesh, axe murders, alligators that eat people, or just want to throw back to the Technicolor era of cinema, Pearl may be a great movie for you to see. And I know I'm late to the game. It took me a while to get to the theater, so a lot of you have probably seen it. If you have, leave something in the comments and let me know what you thought. And remember, when times get tough, just keep smiling.